Hey all, and welcome back to Radical Slice. My name is Eric. On this installment of our series about a side-scrolling brawler in Pico-8, we're gonna introduce a couple of changes to the mechanics, specifically the Hug of Death, where enemies kind of like pile on you and you gotta get out of it. And then we're gonna return to our super move, which we've been working on for a couple episodes now, and we're gonna finish it today. We are gonna finish this darn thing and move the heck on. So I hope you enjoy this. Let me pass this back off to the version of me that was coding this thing not so long ago and see how he's doing. All right, I think everything is taking shape. I think I have all of the parts of this thing. Man, this is just like, there's so many things to mess with to get this thing the way I wanted it. Okay, let me go down. I've got a whole list of things to talk about here, changes that I made in the last not too long. So let's jump over to Pico-8. I started off here. So I started the level off by forcing the player to have a little bit of juice so I could demonstrate this. The first thing is that when you take damage, you lose juice. And that is whether you get hit by an apple or whether you get hugged. So I'm just going to walk to the left here and let an enemy hug me, and then I'll take some damage. And there you go, right? So we automatically lost our juice. I lost my apple juice. The next thing that I added, and let me see if I can get a couple enemies on screen here to demonstrate this next thing. All right, so I've got like four. This might be too many guys to demonstrate this effectively. I've got four guys incoming right now, and what I wanted to do is I wanted to make the breaking out of the hugging part more just button mashy and kind of not random, but like not as previously it required you to actually like kick up or kick down or punch up or punch down, like you had and be facing the right direction, and like you had to actually target a guy that was hugging you, like if it was one of the smaller enemies, and that started to feel like kind of annoying and like it was requiring like too much effort. So what I did instead was I just I set it up so that when you are being hugged, as long as you can get through it, like button mash enough times, all the hugging baddies on both sides of you will die. They'll all explode at the same time. So let me try to demonstrate this. I don't know if I can button mash my way out of the four guys, but we're gonna try. Hold on. Let's go. I'm just gonna button mash like a beast, and you'll see the player's gonna take on a different stance when he does it. Bam! There we go. Okay, it worked. So yeah, you saw them kind of all explode at once, and the player kind of did like a little, a different pose. I mean, it kind of looks like he's giving everybody the finger, which is not what I was going for. I was going for sort of like just like a, your arms are you're breaking free from all the hugging, and your arms are extending upward to the sky. But it kind of looks like he's giving him the finger. I guess I'm alright with that though. So yeah, I added that in just to make the breaking out of the hugging thing just a little bit more fun. That was kind of the goal there. And you may have noticed, or you may not have. Let me do that again. Um, so we'll take a little damage, and you'll notice I've run out of juice. But then when I break out of the hug thing, I didn't gain any juice, right? So I stuck with that idea that if you kill the hugger guys, you don't get any juice out of that. There's no benefit to doing that. You lose what you got. You don't get any more. Boom, boom. Oh man, I suck. I did also add a sound effect to the breakout thing. It's just like a sort of similar to when the player takes damage from the apple. That's sort of like ugh noise, just to give it a little bit more oomph. All right, and I went back on something that I said not that long ago, which is that I didn't want to have the apples that the boss throws actually give you any juice. But I decided that I wanted that. I wanted apple juice. That's what I wanted. So you'll notice when I kick the apples, or yeah, when I take out one of the he killed me. When I take out one of the apples like that, I do get a little bit of juice from them now. And I don't know. This just seemed more fair because like the score is going to depend on how many guys you kill with the overdrive stuff, right? And so if you got to the boss and you didn't really have any overdrive, or you took damage at the boss and you lost it, I wanted to give you the player, that kind of you, another chance to do it. Yeah. Oh man, I just own that guy. All right. So that brings me to talking about the score. You can probably see in the upper right, there's that little leaf icon. Hopefully it looks kind of like a leaf with the number 5. That's the score, and that's the number of points that you got. And you can only get points by killing dudes with the overdrive stuff. You can see there, it just went up. Oh, and I've lost my juice. Hold on. We'll get another one. There we go. You can see it goes up whenever you kill a guy with overdrive. I'm okay with that mechanic. I also set it up so that the regular enemies just give you 1 point. The boss, I think I set it to 5. So that's you get a lot by killing the boss with the overdrive stuff. I'm not really sure where to. This is like a weird thing to be stuck on, but I'm not really sure how to position the score counter in the screen. Like it doesn't really fit anywhere near the player's health bar, and the right side of the menu bar is just kind of empty. So I'm not really sure what to do with it. I'm also thinking that when you kill one of the baddies with the overdrive stuff, that it might be cool to have a little pop-up similar to the way get a baddie on here. Similar to the way you get a little pop-up when you kill a baddie regularly. It might be cool if the baddie, like above where the baddie dies, it spawns like a little score indicator, so that there's a visual indication that like, oh, you did the thing correctly. Nice work. So I might add that in a little bit later. I think what I can do there is, let me go to the code real quick. I sort of have this pop-ups structure that I added to print the star and the plus sign whenever the player gets a little juice. And right now it only handles text. That's why I'm printing the pop-up.message and doing that. But I think what I can do is just add another property. And so basically say like if pop-up dot, I don't know, sprite, and then have like, display the sprite here. Else. Right. So the sort of like the structure itself is the same. Actually, this would probably be like not equal nil. The pop-up structure is the same, right? We just want a thing that gets displayed and slowly goes up to the top of the screen with like decreasing velocity. And whether that's a text string or that's like a sprite, it's not really relevant. Like we could do both quite easily is what I want to say. So I'll probably add that in. But yeah, man, if you have any ideas for how to position that menu thing, let me know in the comments. Use some ASCII art to demonstrate precisely how I should position that score counter. All suggestions welcome. All right, let me actually see if I can do the sprite thing. Right now, what I'm thinking is, if possible, if at all possible, I'm gonna have a sprite thing here, and I kind of want this to rotate. So maybe I'll cheat a little bit and have it update the flip flags on the sprite to have that thing kind of spin around a little bit. I mean, I guess I could also just make 4 sprites and cycle through them. That would even be quicker and dirtier. So maybe I will do that. But yeah, let's do that. Let's do that right now. What I'm thinking is I can go ahead and add the pop-up right here. So this is where we're kind of like looping through the player's projectiles, which would be the overdrive stuff, the big fireballs. And we can just, after we recognize that a baddie has been killed, I'll have to be careful here because I don't want to give points for projectiles. That's the only limit. Like, because otherwise you can just get infinite score. That's not cool. So I'll just have to check like if this kind of sucks. If this table variable is the baddies, then we'll throw up a new pop-up thing. That's how we'll handle it. let me show you where we're at here. So I'm gonna ice this baddie using the overdrive stuff so you can see how it looks. There you go, and a little leaf flies into the air. Oh god, I'm running out of juice. Let me get another guy, hold on. There we go, 3 whole leaves fly into the air. I just realized I didn't do any leaves for the boss yet. I'll probably do that. But yeah, let me talk about code and how that looks. So as I was mentioning, I reused this pop-up structure. And so this is like the collision check loop, right, for the player projectiles. And because I'm checking the projectiles against both the baddies and the boss's projectiles, the apples, I should probably just call this apples. I need to make sure that I'm only giving points and doing the little leaf pop up for actual baddies, not for the apples. I realized too there's a bug in here that like I was giving score for the apples, and I did not want to do that because it would allow you to get infinite score, and that wouldn't be any fun. So anyway, that's this little if table baddies, and I left a comment for myself so that in a month when I look at this, I won't be like, why am I doing this? And then this, like, the table required to do a pop-up, it actually required quite a few properties, so that was kind of a drag. And I might be able to cut down on it a little bit by, like, setting the dy to it, like the upward y velocity to a default value. But let me just show you what we got here. We've got a TTL, just like the regular message one. I signed a color here just so that it didn't freak out. None of the code would freak out if this was nil because I need this value for the text pop-ups. So I just set some junk value that'll be completely ignored. The initial X and Y position will be set to the killed baddies X and Y positions. The DOI, like I said, ends up being subtracted, so it's actually kind of a negative DOI. And I use the same sort of structure that I've been using for player and baddie animations, which is have a table of frames, which are just sprite indices, have an index into that table that's tracked, so we're just cycling through these. Have a length of time that each frame will wait before it advances, and we need a timer to keep track of how much time has passed since we last updated the frame. So that block of code I can probably like throw into a function to save myself a few tokens. I'll show you what I mean. All right, here's the update function, and we're doing some basic manipulations here. So we're reducing the pop-up's TTL, which is what will eventually allow it to disappear. We update the X position, we slow down, or the Y position rather, and we slow down the Y velocity, so it's sort of, it gradually stops moving. The color stuff is to allow the, what do you call it? The text to flash for the text pop-ups. But this is just kind of like, this isn't really doing anything for the sprite pop-up, right? The colors don't really matter. In here, this is like where I handle the sprite stuff. So if pop-up.frames is not equal to nil, then I'm assuming this is a sprite pop-up and not a text one. And so this is the little block of code I was just mentioning that like I've done this probably like 8 different times in various locations of the code. And I could probably when I next do a token harvesting session, I can clean this up and throw it into a function. But that's it. We just kind of like we check to see we're advancing like the amount of time since the last frame has gone by looking at our sort of DT, which is like our global monotonic time delta. And if that number ends up being longer than the amount of time we want to wait between frames, then we index the frames and set that timer back to 0. And this just loops through the table. No big surprises there. And then in the draw thing, you may have noticed, hopefully it showed up. Let me pull this up here. Show you real quick. That the leaf is flashing. Because it's like a leaf, I wanted it to be slightly ethereal. And so I'm just doing some quick and dirty, like I'm using this since last frame value as a basis for my modulus operation. And if it ends up being 0, then that's the only time I draw the sprite. Otherwise, the sprite doesn't draw. So that's what allows it to flash. This is like not like a perfectly, probably this isn't like going to be perfectly like it flashes every X frames. It'll probably like, sometimes it's every 2 frames, sometimes it's every 3, but it's good enough. It's good enough. So yeah, that's how we're looking here. I think, like I said, I didn't do the addition for the boss. Let me actually make sure that the apple thing isn't, okay, yeah, apples don't generate leaves. I think what I'll do with the boss is I also want to have leaves here, but as I mentioned, the boss gives you like a whole bunch of points, I think 5 points. And so I probably want to do a whole bunch of leaves when the boss explodes. So I think what I will do is sort of offset the starting X and Y positions by some small random factor. So you sort of end up with a bunch of leaves all going up in a row. Let me just knock that out right now. All right, allow me to demonstrate what we've got here. Just about to take out this boss, and I switched to using the left to right level first to test this, just because I hadn't used that level in a while. I wanted to make sure that none of my positions were like weird or offset improperly or whatever. So take a look when I take care of this guy using the overdrive stuff, using the fireball. There'll be a bunch of leaves that are kind of like semi-randomly offset that raise into the air. There we go. All right, so that was that. It was probably hard to see. Let me do that one more time. All right, here's the full battle. We'll just let it play out. And because it's a level 1 boss, it'll just take 3 hits. 1, 2, and here we go. Get ready. 3, and there we go. So you can see a bunch of leaves flying up. I also had to tweak the order of what effects are being drawn to the screen at once, because the go with the red arrow was like overwriting the leaves. They would kind of get like hidden behind that little marquee thing. And that sucked because like the leaves were kind of what you wanted to see, and they were only temporary. So I wanted them to be like the focus for just the second that they're on the screen. But there you go. There isn't a lot of exciting code to go along with that, but let me just show you anyway. So I'm using quite a bit of rand in this one as well. For the initial exposition of each of the leaves, I'm randomizing it by 16 pixels in either direction, by initially just taking like the rand from 0 to 31 and then subtracting 16 so that we get kind of like a range on either side of 0. Same thing for the Y value. I'm just offsetting that slightly, only a few pixels, and then I'm giving a slight variation to the initial dy as well. Again, just trying to like shake it up. And the same as the frame. Wow, I used a lot of rand here for the initial frame too, just so they're not all rotating in sync. I added this rand function here to begin things at a random frame. And I think that will take care of, is that everything? Is that everything for the overdrive stuff? Yeah, I think that's finally it for the overdrive stuff. Holy mackerel, that was a lot. There's a lot of tokens and a lot of refactoring. But I'm pretty happy with how it turned out, with the exception of this score position thing. Once again, hit me up in the comments with an X and Y coordinate for the score meter thing. So looking at my list of stuff that I kind of want to do before I post this anywhere, I guess just like a title screen and a nicer victory screen. So I think that'll probably be the next thing that I take on. So look forward to that. All right, thank you all for watching. As always, I really do appreciate all the time that you spend watching these videos, because I know they're long, and this series has been going on for a lot longer than I anticipated. But we're almost there. We're wrapping it up pretty soon. Next time, we're going to unveil the title. I have an idea for a title. It's a pretty lame pun, so I hope you're down for that. If not, just stop watching the series now. It's all going to be downhill from here for you then. Yeah, thank you again for watching. I hope everything is going well for you and you're having a great day, and I will catch you next week. Bye for now.